Chris DeAngelo here on AM 1230 WFAS. And right now on the morning show, we have the one and only Carlos Mencia. Now, this guy, if you haven't heard of him, he's one of the biggest, most well-known comedians in the world. I mean, best known for Mind of Mencia. I was a huge fan back in the day when that show was on. Carlos, how you doing today?
I'm phenomenal, man. Life is good, brother.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be at Levity Live in the Palisades Mall in West Nyack this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Carlos, right off the bat, how have you been? How's your career been lately?
You know what, man? After Mind here, I kind of chose to go underground as a comedian because I just see, for me, it's like there's a grittiness that you lose once you stick to too much celebrity and start, doing movies and stuff. You kind of just go off into another place, and I probably stayed there a little too long, but this year I'm coming out. I got a show coming out on the Travel Channel. I got a special coming out. Yeah, everything's been awesome, man. Everything's been amazing, and this is a really good year, by the way. It's Obama's last year. We get to see who is going to try to run for presidency for next year. So it's gonna be really fun and interesting, man, to see what way we go. It's going to be interesting, especially if we have if a Republican wins. So for 2 years, there's probably going to be a majority of Republicans in all of government. Oh, what would they do with that? And that all that stuff is just interesting to me. Plus, we're such a sensitive society, and everybody feeling like they're getting the shaft. So everybody, all this terrorist stuff, and all the diseases, and at the end of the day, we live in America, the greatest country in the world. So we don't have the way other people do. So I don't know, man. I mean, there's a lot of weirdness out there. And like what happened in France, and some of the people saying, well, they brought it on themselves. It's like, really? Doing a joke about religion? Yeah, really? Is that? So that means it's okay for somebody to blow me up because I do a joke about something? It's a joke, man. It's just so weird and bizarre. Somebody's got to talk about it. And here's the interesting thing. Most of these countries where all this stuff originates from, they don't have comedy clubs.
Right.
And I think that's a big problem. I think I think a lot of these people need comedy so that they can laugh at this stuff instead of taking it so serious.
Yeah, it's interesting because my personal opinion, and I'd like to get your reflection on this, is that if a comedian, and I know what you're saying about pop culture and all those sort of those really serious subjects, and people whether or not it's okay to joke about things, and people just seem to get so offended by everything these days. And what I wanted to ask you was, do you think that a comedian should ever get in trouble for something that they say on stage?
What? No, not when it's intended to be funny. Because at the end of the day, it's a joke. And by the way, let's put it this way: if the joke or something that somebody said was the worst thing that anybody did, that would be great. It would just be old mama jokes. I mean, wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be better if somebody did a joke about Muslims, and then the Muslims did a joke about the Christians, and then the Christians did the joke, and it would just go back and forth with humor. But no, I don't. I think that words are to be used, and a lot of this escalation, especially in this country. I mean, if you look at the trend in America, the more we tell kids to not say bad things, to not tell other kids bad things, the more kids shoot up schools. Because at the end of the day, there's always going to be disgruntled people, and you have to give them that valve. And better that valve be, hey, your mom's so fat, or your dad's, or whatever, than, them feeling like you got to shoot up a school or commit any kind of violence on any other human being. And I think that that's the problem, that, it's become this thing where words have power, and they don't. Listen, let me put it, for anybody out there that thinks that words have power, come see my show. And if you don't come and see my show, then I guess my words didn't have any power, did they? Like,
Exactly.
it makes no sense whatsoever. You know, and listen, I get that there are people that are really great at, you know, riling people up and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, how many, how many Jews did Hitler's speeches kill?
Right.
None.
Right.
None. Not one. It was the people that actually pushed the buttons, pulled the levers, you know what I mean? Did all the stuff. And that's what people, I think, need to understand. We need to understand the reason why freedom of speech is so important. It's so that you can get stuff off your chest. It's so that you can. Like, here's the interesting. You know what? Here's the interesting. Whenever they find a serial killer, right?
Right.
And they interview people that knew the serial killer, they always say the same thing, bro. He was quiet. He kept to himself. He was nice. They've never, ever that I know of caught a serial killer that they're like, oh man, I knew that dude was eating people. He would walk around the neighborhood licking his lips, talking about, you look delicious. That never happens. When you're at a club or you're at a bar and there's a guy at the end of the bar and he's loud, talking about, I would take anybody out. Nobody's afraid of that guy.
Right.
Why everybody's afraid of is the other dude in the corner that's quiet. They're like, don't mess with that dude over there, brother, quiet guy. And there's a reason for that. I just feel that all of this stuff is so built upon getting people fired up because of words, and I just don't understand. My mom, my mom would beat us when we were kids.
Right.
I wish she would have just talked to us.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome. That would have even been awesome if she was verbally like abusive. I'll take that over the ass whooping she gave me when I was a kid.
Yeah,
But
of
that's
course.
just me. That's how I look at it. I just think people get way too wound up, way too easily, especially about speech.
Yeah, I mean, well, it seems like people always just need to be right all the time, and for some reason, I guess ever since Twitter exploded, I mean, it happened before that, but ever since Twitter exploded, there's been like all the like like all those types of like all those hashtags and everything that get people going, like draw attention to a certain subject that people probably shouldn't even have been like really that. It's like, why are you so passionate? It's good to be passionate about things, obviously, but to be so passionate about trying to get someone fired or trying to get someone in trouble, it's just really weird. Did you see that thing with Artie Lang not too long ago with the ESPN analyst by any chance?
Oh no, what was that? Tell me about that.
Oh yeah, he basically I forget the woman's name, but it was a black reporter on ESPN, and he started tweeting out like ridiculous stuff, like basically I'm trying to think back and on what he was saying. He basically said like if he would want her to like beat him up sexually if he was a slave owner or something like that, like for reprimations or whatever. And like it was just like really like hardcore brutal stuff. And actually getting into arguments with people even at work just about how and it goes back to something you said before, and it was his intention was to be funny. It wasn't to be racist, it wasn't to be brutal. I mean, he was being racial, but he was trying to be funny. And it just goes back to what you were saying. It's like people need to get pissed off about something no matter what it is.
But they want to. They're looking for it. I mean, they're looking for it. And and here's the deal. It's all about, let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it. Like, I do a joke, right?
Yeah.
Where I raise money for police officers' foundations across the country, and a lot in California because I live here. And I do a joke about, if you're a cop
Hmm.
and you're afraid of getting shot, you shouldn't be a cop,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Because don't like. It starts off by me saying, if you're a cop, hey, is it too much to ask you not shoot us when we don't have a gun?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a little too much to ask for. And then, a lot of people in the audience are like, ooh, kind of stuff. And I'm like, because I'm tired of people coming out and saying, well, I'm a police officer, and most people don't know how dangerous my job is. And I'm like, yeah, we do, bro. That's why we don't do it. There's a
Exactly
reason.
right. There's a reason
The
why you're on
majority
stage.
of us make a choice not to do. Listen, if you are thinking of being a cop right now, let me tell you how dangerous your job is going to be. First day at your job, they're going to give you a bulletproof Teflon flak jacket just in case you get shot in the torso. The bullet does not penetrate, thereby not hitting any vital organs so you don't die. Then they're going to give you a gun. Then you get an extra bullet. Then you get an extra gun and an ankle holster, a big belt with a baton, mace, pepper spray, taser, a Big Mac flashlight, a handcuff, walkie-talkie to call for backup, a car with a battering ram, a fully armed partner, a shotgun, and maybe a dog in the back. You got to think to yourself, some crazy stuff might go down at your job. And I'll say that on stage, and somebody will come up and be like, oh my God, I cannot believe that you are anti-police. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? I didn't say don't shoot criminals. I didn't even say don't shoot somebody who has a gun who didn't pull it out.
Right.
I said don't shoot me when I don't have a gun. And everybody has their point of view. In my opinion, with comedy, here's what happened. Comedians started apologizing. And that is something that I'm, quote unquote, controversial.
Yeah.
I've never, ever apologized for a joke. I'll apologize if I hurt somebody's feelings. Sorry, not my intent. Didn't mean to hurt your feelings. But I will never apologize for the actual telling of the joke because it was a joke. It was intended to make you laugh, even if you're not good at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%.
If a woman tried to please me sexually, bro, and she didn't do a good job, I would still be happy that she tried.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like the intent of for what you bring up, the intent for something to be funny. I remember, and I know you used to be. I'm a big Opie and Anthony guy. I used to listen to you on Opie and Anthony when you
Oh yeah,
were on
man.
there. Yeah, I mean they're really the reason why I'm in radio at all. And they had a situation way back when, and this goes back to 2007, really when Michael Richards first went off on stage and said the N word, a whole bunch of times,
Right.
and that was in anger. Obviously, that was probably that was a little bit different than what you're saying with the intent to be, because he was just intending to be mean, not intending to be funny. And they went through all that sort of stuff for things that not even they said, but just things where they were trying to be funny and then they would be up for suspension. There's been plenty of other situations where people have said things with the intent to be funny, and I go back to what I said before. When someone says something on stage that's intended to be funny, it's like, I mean, you had a hit TV show, so I mean, at that point you had, if Comedy Central came to you and said, you have to apologize for something you said on stage, would you felt a little bit different about that? Maybe that's a different you back then, or how would that have worked?
No, it's still about intent. See, people don't take intent into it anymore. But part of I think part of the reason also is a little bit of naivete on our behalf as comedians. That is why if you check my Twitter feed,
Mm-hmm.
I don't try to do jokes like that because anything sarcastic doesn't come out. I'll give you an example of what I mean. When I do the joke and I say, when cops are like, most people don't know how dangerous our job is, I say, yeah, we do. That's why we don't do it.
Yeah.
It's obviously comedic in tone. Now, if I was to write that in a Twitter feed, people are going to read that however they want.
Right.
So instead of me saying, yeah, we do have to know how dangerous your job is, that's why we don't do it, it turns into, for somebody that wants me to, hey, yeah, that's why we don't do it. And it becomes something completely different. And that, I kind of understand where people are like reading it however they want to read it. But when you come and see me perform, or I'm doing a show, or I'm the actual one voicing it, if you can't see the sarcasm in it, or that's on you. I'm a comedian. I'm not running for office. I'm not trying to change the world. I mean, I wish that I could through my comedy, But at the end of the day, I understand what the limitations of what I do is, and that I'm an entertainer. But listen, people are shocked at everything. Look, last year there was a big deal about this documentary that CNN did about SeaWorld
Yep.
and the killer whale, Tilikum, who killed 3 people. Now, for me, it's astounding that a country like the United States of America, people were actually shocked that a killer whale killed.
It's true.
That's literally what people were shocked about. Can you believe that the killer whale killed 3 people? It's a killer whale. It's the only animal with the name killer in it. And we got to do a documentary about the fact that it killed, and people are shocked. Everything is a surprise. Somebody asked Paula Deen if she said the N-word. She's over 80
Yeah.
from Georgia. You know she has. And she said yes, which people should have been like, hey, good for her. She told the truth. Instead, people freak the hell out because we live in a society, bro, where you have to tell people when they show you their kids' pictures on the phone that their kids are good looking.
Right. Yeah.
You can't call kids fat anymore. You can't call kids ugly. You can't say that your kid is dumb. And a lack of honesty, of truth, is just abound in this country. And the reason why we need comedians is because we're the truth tellers. We're the ones that maybe sometimes we go too far with the joke here or there about, race or color or creed or religion or whatever it is. But sometimes we're the ones that unearth things that, other people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And
No, go ahead.
well, let me put it to you this way. The controversy, right, that Bill Cosby finds himself in was all because a comedian brought it up on stage and ended up trending on the internet, and then something that was, 5 to 8 years old or whatever it is, became relevant again.
Right.
It was all because of a comedian. And so, for better or for worse, we're the ones that get to, we can say stuff that they can't say on CNN, that they can't say on that you couldn't even say on the radio. We could say it on stage, and that's the difference.
What did you think about what he said on stage afterwards? Because when he made the comment, something along the lines of, "Oh well, you wouldn't, I do bad things happen when you drink with me." Because I thought that was funny. I know that the allegations are what they are, but when he says something like that, there was a big commotion here at the radio. We have a couple of political shows that were making a really big deal about it, and it goes back to what you said before and what I said when I asked you about, is anything on stage off limits? And when he said something like that, it's like a guy like Bill Cosby doing shows now, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's one of the hardest things to do in the world is what you do, doing stand-up comedy, standing in front of a group of people, trying to make everyone laugh. It's an art form. And what he did was, he's in a specific situation where he was going to either lose the crowd there or have to make a joke to bring him back. And he wound up getting cheers for saying that, but he got a lot of flack for saying that.
You know what, though? Look at it from his perspective. He got flack because people assumed that he did it. But let us assume that you are Bill Cosby and you didn't do it. That is such an amazing way to get out of that situation with that joke.
Exactly.
But he was on stage. Those are his fans. And this is what people don't understand. Yeah, okay, somebody recorded it. But here's what you're told not to record. That is illegal. And there's a reason for that. When you come to see a show of mine, I record all my shows personally, and I tell people, you cannot record. If we catch you recording, we'll kick you out. And people go, yeah, but you record your own shows, and you give people access to them. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a difference. That's the entire show. And you're not going to take a little piece out and make it seem like something, because at the end of the day, there's got to be context to something. And context always mitigates, or at least it shows where it comes from, or, why. If you catch me at the end of making fun of or really eviscerating, some heckler who just wouldn't shut up during the show, you might think, God, he's being mean to that person. But if you listen to the whole show and you realize that at minute 5, they said something. At minute 10, they said something. At 13, they said something. At 18, they said something. And then the audience started going, shh, and be quiet, and shut up. So by the time minute 45 came around, it was like, you know what? I am going to tear you a new one. That's what we do. That's our job. Those were his fans. They gave him a big round of applause. Everybody on the radio who was talking about it, guess what? You're not going to pay to go see him. So who cares what you have to say? Why don't you go see whoever you want to? But it's just, it's so built on words hurt, and words have power. And you know what? I wish that they did, but they don't. And at the end of the day, that's all that it is. And you could say whatever you want. Look, I mean, there's certain jokes that I guess I might stay away from if I was a smart person, but I'm not, and I would do it anyway. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I would probably go on stage and do a joke about how like, from a religious standpoint, like, how weak is your God if your God can't stand a little scrutiny,
Right?
or a joke? Really, that's the kind of God? Whatever religion you're in. You know what I mean? Because every religion is like, you shouldn't do jokes about that. Hey, God's offended. Really? So your God is that person? your God is the one that calls into the radio station and goes, I can't believe that I heard that. That's your God? Because my God is powerful and everything, and my God doesn't care if I do jokes.
Yeah,
Because my
exactly.
God's busy being God,
Exactly. You
being
can
the
take a
most
joke.
powerful thing in the universe.
Uh,
He's not worried about my jokes. So, I would do jokes about that, but I'm sure somebody would get offended. Somebody wants to be offended. And at the end of the day, what the internet has taught me personally
mm-hmm.
is that you can't pay attention to any of that stuff. Man, because at the end of the day, you can post a tweet, what was the name of that lady from England? That everybody was shocked how she could sing, and she became, pretty much an instant star because of the internet. Remember that lady? Whatever
Yeah,
her name was.
I can't recall her name off the top
Yeah,
of
I
my
can't
head.
remember her name either. But when that clip first came out, there were a lot of people that were like, "Oh my God, can you believe this? This is amazing!" And then if you still go look at the responses, a lot of them were like, "Oh my God, she's so ugly!
Right.
How horrible! Why would I want to go see her? I don't care if she could sing. So I got to look at that face. It doesn't matter, man. People are gonna say whatever they're gonna say. That's what they're gonna, because they want to live in that, and they want to be heard. And the easiest way to be heard is to say something bad,
Yeah.
because
Is there
that's what we
anything
live.
worse for someone like you than YouTube comments? Like, I mean, it's really just like the most like, I mean, because you had a lot of past with I've seen the
Yeah,
video
I've
of
dealt
Joe
with
Rogan.
controversy myself.
Yeah, I mean, the comments. I was taking a look this morning because I'm a fan of both of you guys. I have to say, and I was reading the comments, and it's just like people don't even weigh every part of an argument. They're on their own side. Their argument is probably completely uneducated, but they read something or they'll hear something, and then they'll form their version of what they think is right, and then they'll argue it to the end. And it happens on Twitter. It happens on YouTube. It happens everywhere.
Well, but you can't let any of that stuff bother you. You really can't. You can't let because success of any kind breeds negative.
Hmm.
It's the world of polarity. You say something good, somebody says something bad to counter it. I mean, it's just the way it works. And when it comes to fans and fanatics, it's even worse.
For sure.
So you just can't let that bother you. What I do is I can read every single comment on the internet and weed out the bad stuff and just live in a good place for myself. Say, hey man, I'm glad I'm glad that this person appreciates what I do. I'm glad that I made this one. I mean, it's what you choose to filter in. That's what's important. I'll give you an example. I was performing this last weekend, and a soldier came up to me and he said, "I owe you my life. You are my God."
Right.
And I was like, "Bro, stop it. But thank you for your service." And he's like, "No, you don't understand. I seriously owe you my life." So at that point, I got to say, "Hey, what happened?" I can't just be like, "Whatever." He's trying to tell me something. I'm like, "What happened?" He said, "Well, listen, I was watching your special. We were in Afghanistan, and we were about to go on a mission, and everybody was ready, but there was like 2 minutes left on your special, and I wanted to watch the end of it because I'm going on a mission, and I'm thinking, you never know, I might not make it back. I want to watch the end of it." So the guys were like, "Come on, bro, we got to go." And he was like, "Dang, man, I want to watch the end of it. It's just a minute away." He's like, 30 seconds after that happened, a mortar hit outside, and everybody died.
Jeez.
And the only reason I survived was because I literally stayed inside to watch your special. Now, who do I want to choose to let? What voice do I want to let echo in my head? That one, or the "you suck" and "you're this" and "you're that"? It's my choice. It's my choice what I live. And at this point in my life, I've had enough of the negative. I've dealt enough with the negative that I can literally say, "Hey man, God bless you. That's how you feel. Good for you." And totally cool. Nothing bad. And move on. The one thing that I personally feel great about with any of my controversies is that you can read on the internet, comics, people, everybody saying negative things about me. The one thing that you don't find on the internet is me saying negative things specifically and especially about other comics.
Right.
That's the one place I never wanted to go because I don't want my career to be founded on, the putting down of others. In my comedy, yeah, I'll do jokes, but in real life, I pride myself on that. And if I died today, I die a proud man knowing, you know what? Whatever was said about me, I took it in. I never spewed it back out. I never gave into that hatred, into that pettiness, into that, that negativity. That's just something that I never wanted to do, and I never did, and I'm really proud of myself for that.
Carlos, I want to thank you so much for talking to me as long as you have. I mean, I was planning on, they told me to do about 10, maybe 12 minutes with you. We wound up doing a half hour, and really just great stuff. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for you, and you know how candid you are with everything you're talking about.
Oh man, thanks. Always happens. There's no reason not to be, brother. No reason not to be.
Carlos, you're gonna be at Levity Live Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Where else are you gonna be? Might as well throw it out there after Levity
Well,
Live.
you know what? Just go to my Facebook, which is facebook.com/Carlos Mencia. Or everything is at Carlos Mencia, or go to carlosmencia.com and check it out. But like I said, be looking out. I'm coming out with a show. Be doing a show for Travel Channel, and if everything works out perfectly, and got a special coming out. So come and check out the shows. The weekend shows are pretty much done, but we added a show at 11:30 just in case. So come by, check it out, and like I said, not for the easily offended, but have a good time, man.
Awesome, great stuff. Thanks a lot, Carlos.